Yep, it's our old Scooby Doo intro.
Waste not, want not.
Right? Well, that's not all.
Oh?
Nope. Get this. Like, it's the return of the ghost of Captain Cutler!
Oh no, he's back?
Yes, he's back, Velma. Once again, we're going to revisit the ghost of Captain Cutler. He has returned. We did an entire video about him before. He's a classic Scooby Doo villain, and people tend to really dig him. People actually tended to like that video that we made. So why not? Why not revisit the ghost of Captain Cutler? However, this time, when Captain Cutler surfs in to ruin our beach party, he will be returning through a different medium. Wordplay.
Nice wordplay.
Yeah. So, this time we decided we would try to sculpt with Apoxie Sculpt.
Right.
Which is a weird resin clay where you have to take a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Two parts.
And you mix it together.
Right.
And you got to wear gloves.
Right.
Because you could have a weird reaction on your skin.
Yeah, you don't want
that.
that.
So we were careful. And aside from that, aside from reading the directions, we really didn't know much about this clay.
I know, right?
Because I don't sculpt. I'm a novice sculptor.
Right.
And I'm just barely making it through with the Sculpey.
Yes.
So this stuff is an air dry thing that kind of, you have like maybe 2 or 3 hours before it hardens and you can't do anything with it.
Right.
So, but we're always trying new stuff.
We are.
Why not?
Why not?
And why not do it on a classic character?
Right.
And while I sculpt this thing, while I attempt to make the ghost of Captain Cutler, why don't we do a quick recap about our last Captain Cutler video just to catch people up?
Sounds good. Okay, so the first time we made a video of the ghost of Captain Cutler, you drew and inked and colored in the ghost of Captain Cutler.
Right.
But we had a special item that we bought for that.
Which was
neon markers.
Yeah, and we did that because the ghost of Captain Cutler glows.
Yes, he does.
With an eerie green glow.
Right.
And we tried to find glow-in-the-dark markers.
Right.
Could not.
I don't think they make them as far as I know.
Right, but the neon markers came pretty close.
Yeah,
they were
did.
good enough, I think.
They made him pop, yeah.
Right, yeah, and then the finished piece was pretty good. I liked it.
I liked it too.
In fact, the piece sold out of my shop.
It did, I know.
So, congratulations.
Congratulations to
However,
you.
we took that money. We took the money and we immediately turned it into more art supplies and we bought this Apoxie Sculpt.
Right.
So, 2 steps up, 3 steps back.
Right.
But we soldier on.
We do.
soldier on and we have fun experimenting with this stuff.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. So what did you think about working with the Apoxie Sculpt as opposed to like the Sculpey polymer clay?
Well, all right. Well, I'll do a quick review.
Okay.
One, I thought it felt more sticky. Like a little tacky.
Right.
That might have been the clay reacting to the gloves I was wearing.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure you have to keep the gloves on, but I did.
Right.
I don't want to give bad advice.
Right.
I just wanted to be safe.
Safe, right.
2, it's air dry clay, and they tell you have somewhere between 2 and 4 hours, I think, before it is non-workable anymore. But I felt like 2 hours was about tops.
Okay,
and then
2
I
hours.
really didn't want to move too much of it around.
Right.
That's why I sculpted him in stages.
Right.
I think first day I did the legs and a lumpy torso, and then the second day I did the arms. Maybe the third day I worked on the belt and part of the helmet.
Okay.
And, so it took like 5 or 6 days before the entire thing was done, drying 24 hours between each step.
Wow. Okay.
And speaking of drying, water is a big help. With
good.
this clay, because you have to kind of smooth it.
Yeah.
And the water really helps change the way this clay feels.
Oh, that's good to know.
But I used a lot of water to get it to do what I wanted. Maybe someone with more experience would have been better prepared, but I was just slopping water all over this thing. And so the workspace was really wet.
Oh, right.
But, it kind of works well with the ghost of Captain Cutler because he haunts a beach.
He does.
He's always soaking wet himself. He haunts Rocky Point Beach, and actually that's an important part of this video because we're not just sculpting the ghost of Captain Cutler.
Right.
We're creating an entire diorama, and Rocky Point Beach
plays
an important part in this diorama.
Yes. Now, I wasn't here this day, so what are you doing here?
Okay, this is not Apoxie Sculpt.
It doesn't look like it,
No, this is Cosclay.
Okay.
I had to make, the windows on his diving helmet?
Yes.
And you know how they're rimmed with some sort of rings?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I tried 5 or 6 times to do that with the Apoxie Sculpt. And I don't know if it's just the consistency of the clay.
Right.
Or that it's wet.
Okay.
Or my complete inexperience with sculpting. Whatever it was, I couldn't do it.
Right.
So I grabbed out the Cosclay, I ran it through a pasta machine, I sliced it into narrow strips.
Yeah.
And then I took out some silicone tools and I just made rings.
Yeah.
This clay's a little more rubbery, the Cosclay.
Right, okay.
A little more forgiving.
Flexible, yeah.
Yeah. So I threw those in the oven and I baked them.
They look great.
With the plan to epoxy them onto the helmet later.
Okay.
I did the same thing with the gloves.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, I was on the phone with you one day and there was a loud thump and I shouted, I dropped him!
Oh, yes.
Because, I didn't hurt myself during this project, so I figured I might as well hurt the sculptor.
Of course.
Anyway, his foot cracked a little.
Right.
And it made me nervous about his hands.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that his hands were made of something durable, like Cosclay, in case
Great
I dropped
idea.
it again.
Great
and it's
idea.
the same thing that I used for the seaweed.
Oh, yes.
Which came out really great. And it's a little
did.
flexible and rubbery,
Right.
and it's just the way I want the seaweed to feel. Now, this is the stage where I really thought this project might just work.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He looks good. He's not painted.
Right.
It's just stark white clay and some
Yes.
gray Cosclay.
He does look great.
Looks pretty good.
Yes.
I have high hopes.
Me too.
But there's more than just the ghost.
Right.
We have to do the rest of the diorama.
Okay.
So let's go. So in this episode of Scooby Doo, how does the viewer find out where the Scooby Gang is having their late night beach party where there is dancing and surfing and hot dog eating?
The Rocky Point Beach sign.
The Rocky Point Beach sign, because
Yes.
the mystery machine has pulled up
Yes.
and the headlights flash on the sign.
Right.
There it is.
There it is.
And that sign is a little staid, a little
Oh,
formal,
yeah. It really is.
and it gives no indication that the beach is haunted
Oh, I know.
by a ghost.
Yes.
So I think when we were working on this diorama, when I designed it, I thought, let's make it a little spooky.
Of course.
Let's make it feel like it's a haunted diorama.
Oh, yes.
So what we did was I grabbed some old scraps of foam that we cut on the Proxon machine.
Yes.
And we wanted to make it look kind of like driftwood, like old weathered boards that had been out
rotting
by the sea on this lonely beach. Why don't you just do a quick rundown on how we finished the sign?
Yeah, the sign was fun.
It was.
We dragged some texture into the boards.
Yeah, sculpting tools.
Right. Sealed the whole thing with Mod Podge. Then the basic acrylic paint routine.
Yeah.
Base coat, black wash, dry brush.
Zip, zip.
Yeah.
And I think it turned out just the way we wanted.
I think it did.
Spooky.
Yeah.
Creepy.
It did.
So the plan was always that some of the seaweed I made was going to be draped over the ghost.
Oh, right.
But some of it was also going to be draped over the Rocky Point Beach sign.
Yes.
Because that just makes it creepier
It does.
overall.
Right? Really creepy.
Yeah, and now that the sign looks pretty good,
Yeah.
and it tells a pretty spooky story itself
Right?
of Rocky Point Beach, we still need a beach
We do.
where we can stick this sign. So
Right?
I guess let's just get started on that.
Sounds good.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is called, as you know,
Drilling the plinth.
And I'm doing that so we can position Captain Cutler in the proper place on the beach.
Right.
There's a place for everything and everything in its place on
Right.
Rocky Point Beach.
And you're using bacon bonds so that the clay sticks to the wooden base.
Yeah, and we'll shape the clay to kind of look like a beach.
Right.
And we're going to add sand to it after
Yes.
it's done baking. But what were you saying earlier about Rocky Point Beach?
Oh, I was checking out the Scooby Doo wiki.
Oh, yeah.
And it said Rocky Point Beach is the very first beach the gang ever visits in the series.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. They visit the beach a few other times, but
Of course.
the wiki says there's no indication whether or not that's the same beach or a different beach.
Well, I always assumed... Well, how did you perceive the show? I always thought that the gang rode around in that mystery machine.
Yeah.
And they visited, like nearby towns to solve mysteries?
Yeah, like in the tri-state area?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... they were based in Crystal Cove.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Is that the name?
Crystal Cove is the name of the town they were in.
Okay.
But I never assumed, I don't think, that they were finding all of these ghosts in Crystal Cove.
That's a lot of ghosts for one
Yeah,
cove.
that's a heavy concentration
Right.
of ghosts in one seaside town. You would think that people would eventually get suspicious.
Seriously.
Although, on Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher was, I mean, those first few seasons anyway, I think Cabot Cove, where she lived, was just crawling with murderers.
Oh, right?
And she unmasked them all.
She's like, wait, Are you telling me Murder, She Wrote is a ripoff of Scooby Doo?
I mean, half the shows Hanna-Barbera put out were ripoffs of Scooby Doo.
That's true.
So, I mean, it's not unprecedented.
Good point.
It's a successful formula. Okay, so at this point, the clay has been baked and hardened.
Yeah.
And I gave it a nice dark base coat.
Yes.
And I've mixed up a couple of different colors of tile grout to try to match the color of beach sand at night.
Yes,
because
very
it's a
nice.
nighttime diorama.
Right.
And I'm going to use some regular PVA glue to stick it down.
Okay.
And then I'm going to spritz it with water to harden it.
Yes.
I will also mention that I did have to spritz the grout a few times.
Oh, right.
To stop it from dusting off every time I move the base around.
Okay.
It's not a one and done. You got to maintenance it.
Right.
So there's our basic beach.
Yeah.
The tile grout has been spritzed sufficiently.
Okay.
It's kind of formed a hard shell. It's not falling off every time I pick it up.
Oh, good.
We've retained the divots where the sign goes and
Right.
where the ghost's feet go.
Yes.
And before I was done, I also hit the wooden base with a satin varnish.
Oh, nice touch.
Yeah, I thought it would look fancy.
Right.
Now it's time to put all the parts and pieces in it.
Okay.
All right, first things first, the Rocky Point beach sign.
Oh, good.
And I used a little wood glue to adhere the sign so it wouldn't keep falling out.
That's nice and strong.
But the sign gets dressed with seaweed,
Oh.
which you painted with a nice iridescent paint.
It looks good.
It looks fantastic.
Yes.
And when I sculpted this seaweed,
Mm-hmm.
I sculpted it so that it would hang from very specific points on this sign.
Oh, yeah. It looks great hanging there.
Well, look who it is.
He's green.
I painted him off camera, but you get
Nice.
the idea. Green
Yes,
paint.
Right.
And he slots right into those holes.
Oh, good.
Now let's drape him in seaweed and see how this thing looks.
All right.
Now, I'm no expert, but that looks to me like the ghost of Captain Cutler. It looks like the ghost of Captain Cutler comes straight out of the Scooby Doo cartoon.
It really does.
And there he is in his Rocky Point Beach diorama.
Very nice.
I think this turned out pretty good. Like, I'm
do
actually
too.
shocked at how good it turned out.
Right?
I don't sculpt.
No.
Look at that seaweed. That iridescent paint really makes it look wet.
It does.
Wherever the light is hitting it.
Right.
And
The sand looks great.
Yeah, that sand looks like beach. It's in the proper scale, too.
Yes.
And if you think that was cool, I
Yeah.
got a little surprise for you.
Okay.
Get ready. Boom.
What?
I painted him with glow-in-the-dark paint. Because we couldn't get our drawing of Captain Cutler to glow, I was
Right.
insistent that we get the
Oh.
sculpture to glow.
What a great idea.
Yeah, I know. When the lights go out in here at night, I can still see him glowing on my shelf.
That's
He's awesome.
awesome. That
He's
is
awesome. I want to
awesome.
do more. I want to do
Yes.
more Scooby villains.
Good. I can't wait.
This was a lot of fun. I had a blast doing
Oh,
this.
I'm so glad.
Thank you for working on this with me.
Yes, no problem.
This was great.